Top story at 10. Limpopo Roads and Transport MEC has stressed the importance of road safety over the Easter weekend. This after at least 10 people have died in a collision between a taxi and a truck on the N1 north of the Kranskop plaza in Limpopo this morning. The latest accident comes as motorists prepare to go away for the Easter weekend. In KwaZulu-Natal, the Transport MEC expressed shock over a crash that claimed 5 lives on the Amajuba Pass outside Newcastle. Provincial law enforcement authorities are rolling out plans to combat road fatalities over the Easter long weekend. Well, the Minister of Transport, Dr. Nzimande, will join the Easter road safety law enforcement activation on the N1 North outside the Petroport. This is part of the Easter road safety campaign aimed at increasing driver awareness and reducing road crash during and post the Easter weekend. Now, let's get more on this story. Pratricia Visagie is following up on this story. She joins us now live. Hey, Pratricia, thank you very much indeed for your time. I understand you with the Minister. What's the latest?
Well, good morning. Certainly, attention falling very much on the Easter weekend road safety awareness campaigns that we know are being rolled out countrywide. And of course, the attention here at the N1 North. As per tradition, you would know that a lot of vehicles obviously would be traveling, towards, in particular, Limpopo this time of the year. So we're expecting traffic to really pile up in the next 2 to 3 hours or so, moving into the late afternoon. So you can see law enforcement agencies have geared up to make sure that they interact with the motorists and, of course, urge them to drive responsibly, adhere to the rules of the road. And we have the Minister of Transport here, Dr. Nzimande, who is helping with those campaigns to try and, of course, appeal to South Africans to do the right thing. Minister, thank you so much for joining us. What's the message? We've seen you interact with some of the motorists, trying to obviously get them into that mindset of driving safe.
Yes, thank you very much. This is part of our Easter activation road safety campaign, and we are talking to the motorists here, encouraging them to observe the rules of the road, drive safely, buckle up, no use of cell phone, all the things that normally lead to problems, and crashes. So that is what we are doing this morning. And also we are emphasizing the importance of child seats, by the way, which are very important, because sometimes if there's got to be unexpected sudden stop, maybe there are no injuries in the vehicle, but the little ones are also very vulnerable. So that's why also, as an example, to encourage motorists, we gave 2 of them free child seats so that they are able to follow that up. We are really concerned, that year in, year out, we have the same challenge of that most of our road crashes are as a result of the human factor. Human error, recklessness, drunken driving, and so on. This year, we are enforcing across the board on all things. We want roadworthy vehicles, we want people with driver's licenses, but we are prioritizing drunken driving because it's one serious cause of our road crashes. That is why, you remember earlier, we were launching that new breathalyzer which will be able to test and tell if there is blood in your alcohol within 10 minutes rather than to wait for months for blood tests to show how much blood you have. But today we are not really doing a roadblock because we are also conscious that the traffic volumes are starting to increase in the wake of the Easter weekend. But we are rather doing education and encouragement to motorists to observe the rules of the road.
Let's link on to the breathalyzer incident. I'm sure you are aware, Minister, there are a lot of social media stories doing the rounds with the controversial hot cross bun incident where we've all been wondering, but what is this? And a lot of confusion, a lot of concern that is stemming from the public domain. Your reaction to that?
I saw that. Look, I don't want motorists really to be distracted by that. First of all, that machine which was being shown there is not the new breathalyzer. It's what we call the initial test. When we stop you on the road, we suspect that we've had something, we do that initial test. That has got nothing with the hot cross bun. We still take you for a proper test. Even if the hot cross bun would make you appear as if you have got more alcohol, we still take you to where we actually do the proper breathalyzer test, which will tell whether you've had alcohol or not. So we don't want the public really to be disturbed by that. And it's real today. Social media is both an ally, but also can distract us unnecessarily.
But are your traffic officers who are on the ground aware of that perhaps contradiction, where if maybe it so happens that they test a driver and the results show however, would they be aware what they need to do to combat that?
They are very well trained, our law enforcement officers, on using breathalyzers, including the new one that is out now that we are using, because we have been taken to court many times, and sometimes we lose cases just on the basis that we had allowed inadequately trained officers to use these. So we have closed that gap now. We have made sure that these machines are foolproof, and secondly, that the people who are actually using them are very well trained. So I'm very confident. So let those who want to take a chance and drive not do that, thinking that they're going to say, no, I wasn't drunk, I'd had a hot cross bun for the Easters. No, not at all. We will be able to nail you and nab you if really you have got alcohol levels that are higher than the limit in your blood.
Let's talk about another issue, Minister, that perhaps might raise concern. It's the threats from the truck drivers who want to perhaps use the Easter weekend to highlight some of their concerns. They've threatened to block some of the major roads. I'm sure you're aware of that. Your reaction to that?
We've picked that up, and the security cluster of government, they have assured me that they are ready for any such activity. And they're going to act mercilessly, and they have my support. Those who are blockading our roads using their trucks, firstly, they must be arrested. And they must also appear in court after the Easter weekend. They must stay inside, and also will impound the trucks, because the owners also have got to take responsibility, because the main concern about workers, the main concern of the workers are not being addressed, by the owners themselves. So we're also going to impound the cars. I've been assured that they are ready. But what disturbs me is that we are in discussions with the associations that are representing truck drivers. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago where we agreed on recommendations on what is to be done to address their labor dispute. And we said subsequently we're going to be having the last meeting where we bring everybody in on how to deal with their grievances on the 28th of April. So we have been in discussions with them since January, actually. There is a task team that is made up of our Department of Labor, Department of International Relations, and Home Affairs. So we feel that those who are actually going out of this process, we think that it's no longer just really about labor grievances now. It's actually the aim is to sabotage our economy, and we are not going to allow that. We are going to act very tough. Workers have a right to raise their issues, but they must allow these processes. And they mustn't be dishonest to us and pretend as if they are talking when they are actually not talking. But this matter at the heart of it is a labor matter. That is why we have handed over everything to the Minister of Labor to say, here is what we had facilitated as the Department of Transport and discussions. Here are the recommendations. Please take the lead now, working closely with the Department of Home Affairs. And of course, we will come in where we are needed in order to be able to deal with this. In short, there is absolutely no reason for any of the truck drivers to attempt to block the roads. But if they do so, we're going to be very hard on them.
All right, let's go back to the Easter weekend road safety campaigns. Where to from here? What are the rest of the plans that you will be part of? Will you be here for the whole day? Are you going to other perhaps hotspots? And what are the intensified plans that we can expect?
The intensified plans, is that we have identified the most hazardous roads, like this N1 between Johannesburg and Polokwane. And in particular, the stretch between Kranskop and Polokwane. We have really more than doubled the deployment of law enforcement, traffic law enforcement officers, visibility, just between Polokwane and Kranskop. We've put more than 50, traffic officers from the Road Traffic Management Corporation. So almost every 10 kilometers, there's visibility and so on. But we're on a 24-hour basis during this whole weekend. And we are also doing the same thing in other parts of the roads where they are most hazardous. Parts of the N3, parts of the N1. We've just emphasized and said all our officers, we want them all out. And we also have got an exemption from the Department of Public Service and Administration to pay those workers, the traffic officers, overtime so that they are able to be on the road. So that's part of increasing, because visibility does actually reduce the number of crashes.
Minister, does it work? This morning we woke up to that deadly accident at Kranskop. So are these efforts really paying off?
Look, we can't stop these efforts. We think that many drivers who are doing well on the roads needs to be reinforced. So that is why we must never stop, to raise these issues. And some of them who realize that, like when we are talking to some of them, sometimes there are things that they didn't know or they were not aware of how to handle children in a vehicle. So it's important that we continue with this. But there are other factors that we've got to look at. I don't know the reasons for this horrible crash this morning, but we suspect at those early hours it's fatigue. Possibly the driver hadn't rested, hadn't slept. That's why also we are emphasizing, if you're doing long distance every 2 hours, please do take a break. So we are doing all we can: visibility, education, awareness, as well as generally engaging all other institutions and components of society, that, like the churches, for instance. I will be doing a bit of that this weekend, to say we need to emphasize the fact that there must be safety. And passengers also have got responsibilities. If you see that the driver of your minibus taxi is drunk, please take action. Stop that, Let the owners arrange for another vehicle. So all those are measures that we are doing in order to try. But at the end of it all, we're going to tighten the laws. It's absolutely clear now, Drunken driving, we're going to make it a more serious offense. And also we're going to now be implementing, as soon as the president signs the law, we're going to be implementing what we call the points demerit system. You will have 12 points each year, and the more offenses you commit, we take away those points. When you reach 0, we either suspend your license, and if we are a very serious offender, we'll take away your license, that you don't deserve to be on our roads. Those are the
Sorry, let me just come in here. Do you think South Africans are not playing their part? If law enforcement is doing so much and there are so many efforts, and many of it we really see visible on the ground, in particular on long weekends such as these, is the problem perhaps with the motorists who are not doing their part, who are not adhering to the rules of the road? Where is the glitch?
The large part of the problem is with the motorists, but not all South Africans. I wouldn't put it that way. There are many, many South Africans who observe the rules of the road. Unfortunately, some of them perish because of the bad behavior of others. But there is still unacceptably high numbers of people who drive recklessly, Someone who would deliberately know that he or she is going to do a 2-hour distance, decides to leave 45 minutes before and say, I'll be able to reach my destination because I will be driving fast. There is still lots of that, People who are having fake driver's licenses and roadworthy vehicles. So that is why in our law enforcement, we are looking at all those aspects. Yes, we are concerned there are still too many South Africans who are not observing the rules of the road.
And police officers, that is always a huge point of contention. Police officers and just law enforcement in general who continue to break the law themselves by taking bribes and allowing people to get away with breaking the rules of the road. And those aspects that we know, drinking and driving, as you have mentioned repeatedly, that play such a huge role in the number of fatal crashes in our country. Just emphasize again, what action is there for your own men and women in blue and the rest of law enforcement who continue to break the law in that regard?
I'm very clear on that and what is to be done. It's of no use tightening the laws, making drunken driving a more serious offense and having a point demerit system if there are some law enforcement officers who are not doing their work. Many of them are doing their work honestly, but there are rotten potatoes there. We're going to be much tougher. In fact, we should even amend legislation to make it a very serious offense for a traffic official to take a bribe. So we have got to look comprehensively at that so that we punish very severely those who are found to be bribing. And we have to include measures to test, unknowingly whether people are really taking bribes or not, so that those bad apples, we are able to root them out of the traffic law enforcement agencies.
Thank you so much, Minister. Transport Minister there, Dr. Blade Nzimande, just outlining the plans that will be enforced to ensure that there's strong police visibility on the ground, of course, ahead of the Easter weekend. You know that South African roads will be busy. A lot of people will, of course, be going in various destinations. In particular, the road between, of course, Gauteng and Limpopo will be much busy. It's already starting to pile up. We can see from where I'm standing, looking at the highway, and it's really starting to be busier. In the next 2 to 3 hours, we expect there to be major traffic congestions, and traffic volumes would have picked up. And here on the ground, they're saying they will leave no stone unturned. They'll make sure that those who break the rules of the road do face the might of the law. You can see there the Minister of Transport, of course, interacting with the various motorists already. So we'll be bringing you more updates as the morning progresses. For now, let's give it back to studio.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy period in terms of traffic, according to a statement. Between 2,400 and 2,800 vehicles an hour are expected to pass through major toll plazas during peak periods. Pratricia Visagie, live for us in Pretoria. Thank you.